I'm back, and I've got our first guest of the evening, Mr. Arya Daivari. Arya, how you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good here, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
For those
right.
that... Go ahead, Shane.
No, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I was just going to introduce our guest to the world. For those who don't know him, he is the indie star. He's touring the scene. He's been all over the country. And for those who haven't caught you on YouTube or seen you live in the gym or an arena, could you just give us a little taste of where you've been, where you've wrestled, which organizations you've wrestled for, and such like that?
Yeah, sure. I mostly travel the Midwest right now. I currently live in Minneapolis right now, so I do a lot of shows in Minnesota. I also go to Wisconsin, Iowa, the Dakotas, Illinois. I've been to Indiana a few times. Just, wherever you can get work. And right now it seems like the Midwest is pretty good for me. But like you're saying, for people who don't know me, I'm the younger brother of Shawn Daivari, or he's now wrestles in TNA as Sheikh Abdul Bashir, and I have a pretty similar gimmick as him as well. We like to do the Iranian thing and come out with the turban, and it's the stick that works good for me because it just kind of comes natural.
Right. And I see in the YouTube, you do the magic carpet ride. What is it entitled? Your move, your frog splash like maneuver.
Yes, that it's a top rope frog splash while holding a carpet. So usually when photographers get a good picture of it, it just looks like I'm actually flying on a carpet in the air and come down on my opponent.
Yes, for that. Now, what is it like? I don't want to say, we've already seen your older brother in there. Is it that much harder for you to make a name for yourself now that, he's already established?
At times it does seem like that, but for the most part, I'm not just some random guy coming out and saying, I'm a Daivari. Like, I'm his actual blood brother, so there's so many brothers like in wrestling, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, the Hardy Boys and everything, and while a lot of them are similar, they actually have their each individual traits. So while we may do the similar gimmick, maybe the same attire, my wrestling can be different from Shawn's. So, some people ask me if it bothers me and stuff, or do you feel like you're in his shadow? And I don't think so. He's been wrestling longer than I have. He's had more opportunities than I have. He's been wrestling for, I believe, almost 10 years now, and I've been going on 2.5. So he's older than me, had more opportunities. So, and I'm proud of him, and I love seeing him succeed. And I just hope someday that me and him get to work together on the same level.
Right. So where did it all start for you? Growing up, were you immediately a fan, or did you see something that sparked your interest? How did it come apart that you became a wrestling fan?
Well, me and Shawn actually became wrestling fans together at the exact same time, and I know a lot of people like to tell stories about how they became fans in, the 80s, early 90s, of the Hulkamania era, but me and Shawn picked up right at the height of, the Monday Night Wars, around 1998, when wrestling became a huge cultural phenomenon for kids our age. I was about 8 years old. I think he was 14. So right away we were sucked into the whole D-Generation X, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the NWO, and stuff like that. And we were just hooked ever since, and we became fans. Obviously, I was younger, so I was buying all the action figures, wearing T-shirts and stuff, and Shawn was out wrestling with his friends and stuff, and until he was about 15, 16, I believe, is when he actually started training in Minneapolis to become a professional wrestler. And I waited till I was about 17. It was summer before my senior year in high school, I started training too. But yeah, just like a lot of people, we picked it up right at the height of its popularity.
Okay.
Right.
You were actually on your high school wrestling team back in Minnesota.
Yes.
You left that to start training professionally for the wrestling you do now.
I did. I believe I was around 14, 15 years old, and I was talking to Shawn, asking him if I was ready to start training yet. And he told me, why don't you wait a little bit longer? He said, for the time being, why don't you try giving amateur wrestling a try, because obviously we've seen a lot of guys be successful with a good amateur background like Shelton, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle. So I gave that a shot for a few years, and I learned a lot, and it was really fun. But it was something that came with a lot of dedication, and if you didn't love it, it wouldn't be that fun. And it wasn't the exact wrestling that I wanted to do. So come time my senior year, I decided to start training, and I had to give all my full time to that because I started doing shows then and everything, and I didn't have time to be on my high school wrestling team. But it was fun, and I recommend it to a lot of people. It's a good way to work out, and like I said, we've seen a lot of people succeed who were amateur wrestlers in pro wrestling, but it just came time that I was ready to start actually doing professional wrestling.
Okay, and you're still attending college now, right?
Yes, I am.
What are you studying?
Sports management, and I got a corporate and community fitness minor. So I'm keeping it in the realm of things. I was actually just reading through one of my textbooks today, and they were talking about sports entertainment, and they were talking about World Wrestling Entertainment in my actual textbook for my class. So, I just something, get a little business side, but mix in a little sports with it. So.
Okay. So is the WWE where you want to end up or hope to end up, or are you looking forward to try to get into TNA to be in the same company with your brother, or does it not matter at all to you?
For a while now, I was strictly wanting to work for the WWE. It was my dream as a little kid, one day being in the WWE, which it still is. But after doing indie wrestling, as much as I love being a wrestler, like what I'd really like to aspire to do is just be able to call it my full-time job. So whether that be in Mexico, in Japan, in TNA, in WWE, if it turns out if I can get paid enough on the indie scene where I can live a good life, I would just like to be able to call wrestling my career. But it seems like if you want to have a nice life as a pro wrestler, it seems like TNA or WWE is the place to be. So, yeah, I aspire to be in one of those two places, and I hope to be with my brother. So maybe even if he ever decides to go back, maybe we can take a try at that, or maybe give TNA a try. Who knows, maybe by the time I'm ready to go there, TNA could be a lot bigger than what it is now.
Right, and you said you only have like 2+ years in the business.
Right.
How long before do you think you're going to be at that point where you say, okay, I've got the experience down, I'm ready to go?
Shawn has been helping me out a lot. I constantly give him matches. He looks at it, critiques my work and everything. And I really don't want to rush it personally. Like, as much as I would love to be there and be done with school and be in WWE or TNA, I don't want to rush it because, we've seen so many times these really young guys with 1, 2, 3 years experience get to the WWE or TNA, and it's too much for them, and they fail, and they end up getting fired. And that's not something I want to do. When I get there, I want to be ready to go and be able to hang with the big boys, and be able to put on a good show.
So what is your feeling? Obviously, you're doing the gimmick. What is your feeling of about stereotypes, and is that the only way for minorities to get over, is to do these kind of roles, or is there a way for people like yourself and your brother to break free and be their own person? How is your outlook on that?
To me, wrestling is, I've never taken it that serious to the point that I get that question a lot. People say, aren't you offended? People are angry at you just because you're Iranian. And obviously I milk it up and try to get under people's skin with it, but it's just a character to me. Like, obviously in The Dark Knight in real life, Heath Ledger is not a homicidal maniac. I'll just look at it as I'm just playing a character. But the thing is, I've done a handful of shows where they had me be the babyface, and I don't really change my gimmick at all. I still come out wearing my turban. I still have the carpet. I still have the